Indian Army has chased away the Chinese army from the Ladakh on Saturday of August 31st. China is rapidly building a heliport near the India China Bhutan tri-junction border. Chinese troops carried out a provocative military movement near the Pangong Tso Lake on Ladakh in India on Saturday night, but were blocked by the Indian soldiers who are fully prepared, said the Indian government on Monday. According to the NDTV source of India, said that the Chinese troops came in sufficient numbers, but the Indian army was aware of the Chinese move and established themselves in the move to block the Chinese advances. So physical clashes took place and there is no face-off situations at present, said the source. It is said that Indian troops pre-empted the PLA activity on the southern bank of Pangong Tso Lake, undertook measures to strengthen the position and thwart the Chinese intentions to unilaterally change the facts on the ground, adding that the Indian army is committed to maintaining the peace and the tranquility through the dialogue, but it also equally determined to protect its territorial integrity. The move provoked a standoff and the rapid build-up. The troops from both the sides yelled at each other, surged within yards or two before the commanding officers from both sides pulled them apart. Also, China is rapidly building a heliport near the India China Bhutan border tri-junction, which is very much nearer to the Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim of India. After the night of 30th August, Chinese Air Force redeployed the J20 fifth generation fighter aircrafts near the Ladakh region, according to the Indian government sources. The J20, the sleek fifth generation jet, has been redeployed by the PLAAF or the Chinese Air Force at the Houghton Air Base, and they have been flying close to the Indian territory near the Ladakh and the adjoining areas. The deployment of the strategic bomber aircraft is also still on by the Chinese, said the Indian source. As India is rapidly using its Rafale jets near the India China border, now China has redeployed its first generation J20 jets few weeks before itself. The Indian government has said China tried to change the status quo in the Ladakh and India China border region. The Indian army have chased away the Chinese. Now China has insisted that the troops has to be moved out of the heights which India has occupied. Indian army has refused to move out. The Indian and the China issue and the standoff has escalated into a very serious standoff tensions. So on the other side, India, Japan and Australia have agreed to join hands against China's imports and exports by trading more between the India, Japan and Australia. So what do you think of the new escalations between India and China, the border region, which can trigger the new frontal war between India and China, and the trade between three countries to counter China? As the tensions rises in the Ladakh region in the India-China border on Monday, with series of eye-to-eye standoff between India and Chinese army. Now it led to India banning Chinese companies in India. The Indian Railways and the Department of Telecommunications has said to the state BSNL telecom communication company not to use or buy Chinese-made equipment in its upgradation or in the future development, a top source told the Indian news media. Because of this, entire tender will be reworked newly and they will be aiming for Indian companies. Also, the source said that the DOT has also planning to tell the Indian private mobile service companies not to use or reduce the Chinese product development and dependency. Now, the security features products built by the Chinese companies are coming into under tough scrutiny. The Hawaii and the ZET could face off a uncertainty because of this. Even the permission of the Hawaii and the ZE 5G programs will be revoked. Since 2008, the economic Russian, China has seen a sharp rise in its economic powerhouse growth, which helped by the decline of US money power and was spreading of military in the Middle East by the US. After every country engaged with China, India also did the same in those times. Chinese investment in India is in the sharp rise in recent years after Mr. Modi came to be the Prime Minister of India. China's FDI in India stood over $2.34 billion. Some observers and think tanks say numbers could be more than we think. They say it is over $6 billion and others say it is $8 billion. Plus the annual tourist inflow of $550 million from China. The number of Chinese companies invested heavily in India are Alibaba, Xiaomi, Tencent, China Eurasia Economic Cooperation Fund, JD Shongying, Shunwai Capital, and Fosun Capital. They have invested also in the major Indian companies like Paytm, Ola, Snapdeal, and Swiggy. The Alibaba has invested in Paytm very heavily. According to an Indian media report from the Indian Express, Chinese have invested over $5.5 billion in India's startup in the last 5 years. The bilateral ties between India and China have increased fastly from 2000 to 2018. Their merchandise trade have reached $95.54 billion from just $3 billion. The trade deficit for India in 2018 was $57.86 billion. Reports suggest that in 2019, China's exports to India were at $68 billion, while imports stood at $16.32 billion. This means India has a trade deficit of nearly $52 billion. India's dependency on the Chinese economy can be valued at $52 billion. India has so much catching up to do with the exports to China, and these reports have grown to 23% in 2016 to 19, against the growth of around 4.5% in the imports from the country. While the 5G is being involved now with India by the Chinese companies, it is clear now after the series of standoff in the Ladakh region, there is so much chance that the Hawaii 5G program will come to an halt, as already the US President and the Europe warned India before about the China and the Hawaii's involvement. So what do you think of India banning some Chinese companies, and can India catch up with the huge deficit with China to stop the dependency on Chinese economy?
Post your comments below, and if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and follow us on social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.